Yes, indeed. Here we are. It's Ringside Report MMA. Tonight on the show, Conor McGregor missing in action. Will he be fighting at UFC 303? Nate Diaz and Jorge Masvidal brawl, getting ready for their boxing match. And Jon Jones versus Islam Makhachev, who is the number one pound for pound.
Let's go!
Let's go indeed. We got a full show. We got a lot going on. We got AJ in the house, and AJ has fully regulated all his technical issues. He's perfect.
Lots of fiber. Lots of fiber, bud.
Yeah. We had
this
the
is
whole
a new era,
team.
man. This is AJ 2.0.
Yeah, the team came in today, AJ, and took care of all your technical issues, and now you're set, ready to go. You got a new computer, new microphone, new headphones, it looks like. Everything's new,
yeah,
AJ.
baby.
Everything's brand new.
Look at my
camera.
mic, man. Do you see the mic? It has like different colors. It's really cool, dude. I'm getting like mesmerized by this. Ringside Report, man. We've gone all the way. 2.0. Thanks to our members, man.
Yes, thank you to the members for supporting the show, financing the show.
Right.
And keeping us going forward, all the members, and I hope you enjoy now. AJ DeLessio looking good, looking, technically sound for a change.
How do I sound, man?
You sound great.
Do I sound good?
You look great. You're not cutting out. Everything's good. If you, as long as you remember to speak into your microphone and not over here, AJ, not over here, but right over here, you're going to be doing well.
Far.
Exactly. So
Listen,
we are
man,
happy.
Want to hear something funny?
We are happy to see AJ looking good, and yes, no Fred Garcia. Fred is off tonight, unfortunately, but he will be back.
Freddie's got COVID again.
He will be back soon.
Poor Freddie.
Ooh, that's a double down the line for Gleyber Torres. That'll score a couple.
Listen,
maybe a third.
First of all, I want to say thanks to the executive producer John Simon for setting me up over here, and most important, man, let's have a good show. Are you okay there? Are you having a seizure? What's happening?
Yeah, I'm doing well.
Listen, I wanted to say something. So I was listening to last Friday's show this morning. I was listening to you and Johnny because I missed out on that show, so I like to catch up. Man, that was a really good show, guys. I must say it was really, really funny. And I really liked the way everything went, man. And I love the rant about you made me think of a few things I didn't even know about, the Pete Davidson thing. I'm like, what? I wish I was there live to hear that shit. I swear to, I'm telling you right now, Dave, if anybody puts a tattoo of my little guy on their arm, after dating whoever, after a couple of months, I swear to God, man, that's coming off ASAP.
Right.
There's no way in hell. I don't know if most people know what I'm talking about, but that got me really mad when you were saying that. I was like, is this guy for real? And damn, it's weird. So Pete Davidson, go fuck yourself. You're a loser. And if you want to come and challenge AJ, I'll be more than happy. Be more than happy, bud.
I had no idea what you were talking about. You were I remembered as you started talking. I remembered what I was saying on Friday night, but it's so long ago
weird,
at this
man.
point for me. Yeah, that was weird. Kanye was I could explain that. Kanye West was taking a lot of heat. It's maybe a year ago or something. I don't know. Because his ex-wife was dating this guy Pete Davidson, and this guy had got the kids' names or something tattooed on his body after dating Kim Kardashian for
weird, man.
2-3 months. And Kanye was kind of upset about it, and he was, speaking publicly, talking about beating him up and doing all sorts of things, which people were mad at Kanye about, and I understood why they were mad, but I was kind of I understand why Kanye's mad too. Let's be real. And then of course it didn't work out. And what's with the tattoos now, Pete Davidson? And I was talking about Pete Davidson because he's in the new Eminem video, and I was a little bit surprised that Eminem would put Pete Davidson in his video, considering everything with Kanye. But I don't think Eminem and Kanye are really buddies like that.
Listen, man, I'm telling you, that's the real Slim Shady. But you made me watch the video last Saturday. I love it. I think the new Eminem video is awesome, man. that Pete Davidson guy, listen, man, yeah, that is damn weird. Maybe that's why Eminem put him in there, because of all his weirdness, and just make it a little bit more controversial. You know, who's going to be more controversial than Eminem? You know, like, who gave head
Conor
first
McGregor,
kind of thing, Yeesh.
he's pretty controversial.
Man, that's what Eminem should have got. He should have got Conor on that video.
I don't think he could afford him.
You don't
Uh-oh.
think so? He could afford him. I'm sure Conor would do it for free if he could throw in a bottle of proper 12 in there.
I don't know about that. Conor's got a lot of proper 12. AJ, Conor McGregor didn't show up for a press conference this week in Dublin. It was to promote UFC 303, which is 2 weeks from tomorrow. No, Saturday. Sorry. So it's about 2 weeks away. That's not good. Conor no-showed the press conference. Now, Ariel Helwani reported that Michael Chandler was told, like the day before, don't fly to Ireland. There's no press conference. So it's not an issue with Michael Chandler. There's something going on with Conor McGregor, but Helwani's also reporting that there's great optimism that the fight is still on and is going to happen. So what's going on with Conor McGregor?
Well, man, did you see the picture? I mean, man, that's kind of like a Mona Lisa kind of like smile by Conor in a sense. I mean, does he look like he's in any way injured or not looking good, or like all this rumor about him being on coke and all the rest of the stuff of him partying? In fact, he looks in awesome shape. He looks really well rested. The best looking Conor that I've seen in a long time. He's cut weight, there's no doubt about it, but man, he looks in great shape, and he's got this pose like he's like posing for Playboy. Does that guy look injured to you? Can you see it, Dave?
Which picture are we talking about? Is it the one in the doctor's office?
The one in the doctor's office. That's the one that he posted to say, like, that's where he is. So, I mean, I heard some rumors that he hurt his shin and that kind of stuff, which is very possible, because let's not forget that Conor broke his shin, in a pretty bad way. But you know what? Something tells me that Conor is trying to do the same thing that Garcia did. He's leaving people like all over the place. He wants people to be upset. He wants people to be angry. He wants people to be disappointed. And it only brings in greater numbers. You had all kinds of fighters calling him out, journalists calling him all kinds of like shitty names. But in the end, Conor's sitting on that doctor chair, and he looks like $1 million, or actually $1 billion to me, man. I mean, Conor's playing the game, man. And that's why his name is the Notorious. He's playing that game. He looks like he's going to fight. I think Ariel Helwani was right. Like, he doesn't seem like somebody who's compromised.
Yeah.
Do you have that picture, Dave? Put it up, man. It's on the Notorious MMA. You did? I missed it. Sorry.
It was on the whole time you were talking.
Yeah, but you know what I'm trying to say is I still have a couple of technical things that I got to...
Yeah, it's been on there the whole time, AJ.
Yeah, so does that guy look like anybody who looks stressed? Let's be honest.
He looks happy, but he's also in a doctor's office. What's he doing in a doctor's office 2 weeks away from his fight?
If you look at that doctor's office, it looks like everything to do with like a hip issues and whatnot. I mean, that doesn't look like something. It looks staged to me, man. Something looks staged.
I don't know. Okay, so you think this is all a big fake out from Conor?
Yep.
And he's playing mind games with Michael Chandler and the rest of the world, and that's why he missed the press conference. I mean, Chandler had to get like enough time for him not to show up, and you know how things. There's a lot of rumors, this and that. So that means there had to be some kind of like understood agreement that don't go to Dublin, and it's just like there's too many ifs, man, and nobody knows anything. And Dana, there's no concrete anything. So I'm thinking that Conor's playing the game. I think it's part of the Conor show, man. He's always trying to come up with a new Houdini trick. He's always trying to come up with a new thing to hit like the Vegas scene.
And that's Conor. And I can see him with that smile, man. He looks like that cat, man. That smiling. What's that guy's name that you were talking about last week? Guy Smiley. That's the real Guy Smiley right here, man. Guy Smiley Conor, man. No, he's faking it. There's no way. I think Conor will be fighting. I think Conor's playing a big game here. And I think Chandler is in on it as well. I mean, Chandler knows, man, this is the money fight. So let's just go along with the shenanigans. And I think Conor's going to come up and perform like he does. I'm not saying that, there could be something, legitimate, but I think there's more to it.
Well, we'll see.
He looks great, man.
We'll see. We're going to find out, right, AJ? I mean, we're going to find out soon enough. That's the great part about all this is that, there's a limited time on this. I did see that ESPN stopped promoting this as the main event. UFC pulled some of they had a Nate Diaz versus Conor McGregor full fight, and they pulled that as well. They had like a full fight video of Conor versus Nate, I think the second fight, and it was to promote UFC 303. They do that a lot when they have a pay-per-view to promote. They show you the main eventer and some of his great fights. They put it out for free on YouTube. If you don't have Fight Pass, you could watch it again, that type of thing. They did that, and then they pulled it. Why?
Yeah.
Why did they pull that? It's like, okay, he no-showed a press conference. Well, that's a Conor thing. Maybe it's mind games. Maybe it's whatever. But then is he playing mind games with the UFC too? Because I don't think he would do that. That's not the move. So
Conor's never
I don't buy that it's mind games. I think something's going on.
Look, Conor's never pulled out of a fight in his career. He's never missed a press conference. He's done his shenanigans in the conferences, and everybody loves it, man. I love it. Everybody wants to see Conor, if you hate him or love him. But the guy's never missed a fight, and he's never missed a press conference. So who knows? There could be that slight, like percentage that he's really hurt. But is it enough for Conor to pull out of a fight? If it's something to do with the shin, I mean, for sure they get hurt. And especially with Conor's leg, like I said, it's been already a compromised leg. And then other people were saying, oh, it's because he didn't pass the drug test. But let's be honest, Dave. If Conor didn't
possibility, AJ. That's a possibility there too.
I'm going to pull it out away. You know why? Because if you had to pull away the whole right now that's going on, it's all like question mark across the board. We just knew that Conor was fighting, and there was none of that bullshit. When you looked at that picture with Conor sitting in a chair, what would you think Conor looks like at that point right there? Just looking at the picture with him lying on that doctor's table. Like, if the first impression is, like, I'll tell you what my version is, but what would you think? Just look at Conor not knowing any of the bullshit that with that smile. Let's be honest. Be honest.
I'd say he'd be looking all right. You're glitching out, AJ. Your internet is like buggy now. It's your internet.
What?
Yeah, we installed a new computer, new everything for you, and now your internet is like not working that well. You're like glitching on me. I can't believe it.
Are you kidding me?
I mean, now you're okay, but you were kind of glitchy there for a minute. Hopefully it might be the weather, actually. Angelo is right.
Weather,
it is pouring rain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Angelo. Thank God we have Angelo as our assistant, man. Ringside report, man. Assistant.
Yeah, I got the headphones on here. I'm in the studio. I kind of forgot it was raining, but it is kind of pouring rain out there.
It's pouring, man.
I think it's affecting your internet connection, AJ. You're kind of dropping out. So hopefully you stay on with us because we just installed all sorts of new equipment for you. And now the internet's going to bug out. Huh?
What do you think, Angelo? Does it look good? Mind you, there is a major storm hitting Montreal like very shortly, so we might be like disconnected.
Big thunderstorm.
Honestly, Dave, yeah, big thunderstorm. But listen, you're absolutely right. If I have to look at Conor outside of it, like you said, I'm looking at a guy that looks good. I'm looking at a guy who looks comfortable, a guy who looks extremely relaxed, in amazing shape, and he actually good. He looks refreshed. Dude. He's looking like Conor that I've ever seen, and he's always looked good, in my opinion. Yeah. Always, like, people would always rub him wrong and whatever. Conor always looks in shape. Even when people say he doesn't train, that's bullshit. Conor's always training. Yeah. But right now, looking at that picture, he looks good, man.
He looks healthy. He looks good, but he's in a doctor's office. He pulled out of the press conference, and there are questions. There are rumblings that the UFC's looking for another fight to main event that pay-per-view, because if they're still doing that pay-per-view, they're not going to cancel that pay-per-view. They need another main event if Conor is out. So, there's talk. There's definitely rumors of other fights that could potentially take place. Volkanovski's throwing his name in there. There's talk that Holloway might fight somebody. There's all sorts of talk going on about UFC 303 right now, and the fact of the matter is the situation is uncertain. It's not clear whether Conor's going to fight or not, and if it is mind games from Conor McGregor, I mean, very well played. These are real chess moves because you're keeping Michael Chandler on the fence questioning the whole time. He's been questioning whether this fight was ever going to take place for a year or two at this point, and Conor has probably always known when and where and everything. He's probably known the date when he was shooting The Ultimate Fighter. So I think it's possible that Conor is still playing games with Michael Chandler, but these are some interesting games, and there are some other things at play here that make me question whether these are really games or there's actually something seriously wrong with Conor, like a drug test failure or an injury. So we'll see.
You said it right, Dave. I mean, one thing with Conor is he's a chess master. And when it comes to like the press and media, the guy is the master, man. He's the Jedi of the game. The guy is, look, how many more fights does Conor have in his career? Not many. Let's be honest. Like, after this fight, let's be honest. He might have, if it's a really good couple of years, he might have 2 more fights, and then Conor will probably walk away. But it's like questionable. Conor doesn't have that many fights left in the UFC, and he's going to try everything to always stay relevant, to be like that Houdini, like I said. And that's with Conor. I think it's a total like farce. I think he's playing the Garcia game. And you know what? It's probably him that gave Garcia that idea, because at one point, they were going tit for tat for a little bit, and I'm telling you, this is a typical Conor shenanigan to really put someone off kilter. And that's what Conor does. It's not only about the fight, it's about into the mind of your opponent. And Conor does that from a distance, from over the pond, man, from months before. The guy is always like, it's cat and mouse with Conor. Conor knows how to get into your head, and that's what makes Conor great. Even when he loses, he turns it into something that will be remembered forever. From the Khabib fight to the Dustin Poirier fight, like these are things that will, like, in decades from now, we're gonna look back and say, man, that Conor was like a huge presence. And so with the remaining fights that he has in his career, I think Conor's going to always get one notch above for the next big act. And I think this is an act of Conor, and I think he's doing it well.
Well, you have a lot of faith in Conor. I know you're picking Conor to win the fight, and we'll definitely keep talking about Conor McGregor as the weeks go by, because so far he's still in for the fight at UFC 303 in Vegas in 2 weeks. I think it's 2 weeks or 3 weeks. I think it's 3 weeks. I've been saying 2. I think I'm wrong. It's 3 weeks
3
away,
weeks,
right?
man.
Yeah. It's
a
the
lot of time.
29th, I think.
I
Right?
believe so, yeah. So there's a lot of time, man, for whatever you want to do, man. Now is like, if it's to recover from something, now's the time. 3 weeks is more than
3
enough.
weeks is maybe. We'll see. Yeah, 3 weeks is I got hurt in training. Let me go check it out at the doctor, see what he says, see if I can fight in 3 weeks, or see if he says I need more time. That's a possibility.
Sure. But I think Conor will fight. Like I said, Conor's never backed out of any fight. Conor's always willing to fight. Regardless of what some of the haters say, that you'll never see Conor fight again and this and that or whatever.
Yeah, but if he's seriously injured, there's no reason to fight, man.
No, I mean, if his leg, look, let's be honest. I mean, the man had like a serious injury that most people would still be like going through physio. And this man is fighting for another professional fight. Conor was like up and about. Like, I think David was like in 4 weeks, he was already up and hitting like a heavy bag.
Yeah.
And kicking. I mean, that's insane. You know, people could say, yeah, he was on steroids or whatnot. But if I had the injury he had, let me tell you, I'd be the same thing. I'd do what it takes to recover his the hurt business. I mean, he's not going to go be working at Staples or McDonald's or anything like that. I mean, this guy is fighting, so he's going to do to get back 100% health, and then he'll weed off. And let's be honest. You know, how many fighters do we know, Dave? You know, we're on something.
AJ, you're really glitchy, man. We're having issues here.
Yeah, probably the weather.
Yeah, I think you're having weather issues. I don't know what's going on. You're really glitching out during these
it's very windy, Dave. I can see like out my window here, and it's like I feel like I'm in Florida. Weird.
Yeah, I can't. It's like back to regular AJ connection here. It's like not good. Okay.
Oh, man, that sucks.
Yeah, it's difficult. Makes the show difficult here, AJ. Okay, Nate Diaz and Jorge Masvidal had a brawl. Johnny North wanted to see some of it. I see you, Johnny. I see you, Leor, as well. Shout out to all the members over at join.ringsidereport.net. I see Angelo. I see Leor in the chat. Johnny wanted to see some of this brawl. I will see what I can show you from this thing. AJ, have you seen any of this? They had a press conference for their boxing match. And there was a brawl between just a bunch of Team Diaz and Team Masvidal people.
I heard about that. I heard about it. No, I haven't seen it yet.
It's pretty nuts. I could show you a part.
Yeah, let's see it.
Here, I have this here. I could show you. Hang on. Okay. So, here. Watch the guy with the long hair. He's on Team Diaz. All the guys in the black shirts are on Team Diaz, obviously. And the guy in the yellow shirt that just popped in the screen, that's Masvidal. Right here,
wow,
Masvidal. Okay? He's fighting this guy now.
Woo. Wow,
It's like a giant brawl. It went crazy. Team Diaz people are talking like it's pandemonium. Look at these Diaz guys. Whoa, that guy. Whoa. Look at that guy's face.
Jesus.
Dude.
He lost his eye or what, man?
I don't know.
It looks like he lost his eye.
That is nasty. Look, he's got sunglasses on here. Maybe his eyes are always kind of messed up, but like he lost his glasses and his hat, and he got cut up. I think Masvidal may have got him. Masvidal's like punching him a few times here. He's punching Masvidal back. It's wild, man. So they have a boxing match, and all of a sudden, I'm more interested in it. So well done, guys.
If you look at the fight, I think two things. Number one, the guy long blonde hair there that had the cut near the eye. I'm sure that was because of some punch to the eyeglasses that cut him. He could have lost his eye. They're very dangerous. But I did notice one thing. I noticed that Masvidal's right hand, he hurt himself. He was like, he went behind his bodyguard, but I can see him wincing when his right hand was floppy, dude. I can tell, in professional opinion, that he got hurt. I think Masvidal hurt his power hand.
Maybe.
That was completely stupid. I mean, it's a ridiculous fight. I mean, maybe it's to ham it up, but it got out of control. But, you know, Mr. Blonde here could have lost his eye if he didn't with the fact that he got punched in the face with glasses on. And Masvidal obviously hurt himself. And I like to hear more on that if he did. But I have a feeling that he hurt his right hand. I can see it. If you watch it again, watch just at the end, you'll see him kind of like wince and try to shake his right hand. And it looked like he got hurt. That's why he kind of had the bodyguard go in front of him, because he couldn't use his right hand. Take a look at it. Just at the end.
So there's Masvidal throwing punches.
Okay, here's the left. He's throwing a left. Right here, he's going to throw. Okay, look at that hand. Okay, watch. Watch right about now, like around here. He's going to go behind the bodyguard. Don't keep going. Keep going. and right around here, I can see. Look at like he starts shaking his hand. Look right here, like he goes behind. I'm telling you, he hurt his wrist.
It's
He
not
hurt
clear.
his wrist. Yeah, I'm. This
It's
guy's
not clear
fucked.
that he hurt himself, AJ. I don't know about that.
I'm telling you, he hurt his
Maybe.
wrist, man. We'll
But yeah,
see.
so it was a pretty
But it's
wild
ridiculous.
scene there. Pretty nuts.
And where's the Diaz brothers? I didn't see them there. Masvidal brothers were there.
Yeah, Masvidal brothers. I don't think there's brothers. I don't
thought his
know.
brother was there.
There's all sorts of videos. Nate's around. There's all sorts of stuff going around. Nate
crazy,
talking
man.
trash. But the main video of the brawl is the one I just showed you.
Listen, man, boxing, I mean, a lot of times that happens like in the ring, like, after a bad decision and people just like piling into the ring and they start throwing punches. I mean, I remember the fight with Mike Tyson and Evander and all that. It got like crazy. But this is stuff that happens before the fight. Very dangerous, just for the fact, like I said, you injure yourself and the fight is canceled. That means a lot of people lose money. I mean, you want to see like a lot of like trash talk, push back and forth, stare down, all that kind of stuff. But when it's a straight up brawl like that, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of like lawyers and everybody like not happy with this situation. Because I personally think he got hurt. I think Masvidal hurt. He's right.
It's a month away at the Honda Center in Anaheim, July the 6th. Nate Diaz versus Jorge Masvidal. And I think it was the last week or the week before where we were talking about how we don't want to see these guys box. We'd rather see them fight in MMA. But after this press conference turned into a brawl, I imagine that fight week will be interesting and the fight itself will be interesting. And they may brawl after the fight and it'll be total... just a wild scene, just complete madness. So I'm in it for the freak show. I'm in it for the riot that will no doubt happen. I'm in it to see everything kind of devolve into an all-out brawl, a Royal Rumble. Nate Diaz team versus Jorge Masvidal team, winner take all, some sort of giant fight. I think that's what it's going to all break down to. According to the promotion for this event, that is what I should expect given the press conference. So, all of a sudden, I'm interested. All of a sudden, I care. So, good job, guys. Really. Well done. This is what we want to see from Nate Diaz and Jorge Masvidal. Trash talk and a bunch of thug fighting. So, thug fighting is good. I'm down with thug fighting. Thug life forever. I heard Nate Diaz calling Jorge Masvidal a bitch, yelling out West Side, which I thought was really wild. When a guy's yelling out West Side to you, and he's like from California and you're from Miami, that is some wild stuff. That's not stuff you hear in MMA a lot. Nate Diaz just walking towards Jorge Masvidal and some dudes, and Nate's got an army behind him that he calls the Nate Diaz Army from Stockton, California. And he's like, "What's up, bitch? Let's go. Let's fight. Let's go right now. West Side." I'm like, whoa. Throwing the dubs up. I'm like, what is happening? Is this like Biggie and Tupac? What is like Nate is just throwing it into a different type of atmosphere, and I love it. I love what Nate Diaz brings to the table, and Jorge Masvidal brings a lot of that same, street gangster energy that he likes to throw out there, and who knows how close that is to reality for Masvidal. He's definitely seen some things and been in some places.
Well, he was
so
a street
these
fighter,
guys,
right?
these guys running
really
wild.
a backyard fighter.
Yeah, I mean,
sure,
this
man,
is what
and
happens,
they're both
man.
like, listen,
this is
man,
what happens.
they're both...
I like it though. Don't you like it? Doesn't this make you more into it? I know we shouldn't like it, and we should be like, oh, these guys shouldn't do this and condemn it and blah blah blah. But like, man, fuck that shit. That's bullshit.
Listen, man,
we like
it's
that.
Like combat sports,
We're fight
man.
fans.
It's
We like that. Sometimes it happens,
sure,
right?
Look, man, how many people come out when, like, if you look way back in the days, from the Muhammad Ali days to the Tyson days to like Spinks, man, all the way to Conor and like
Conor
everybody, man, people, Diaz, man, the Diaz brothers, everybody. You like to see that kind of entertainment because you almost expect it, even George. I mean, there was a few times when he got mad and you were like, ooh, this is going to get crazy, and George will get upset. You like to see that hype, it's part of the circus, and that's what it is. It's a circus, and and it makes it much more worthwhile in a sense to watch because you know that something happened after the fight. No doubt about it. But they're two good fighters, man, and it's going to be quite interesting to see who's going to outbox the other. I mean, if I had to put down my hands on who should win this based on their boxing skills, Masvidal, man, like most people don't realize that he came from the Kimbo Slice days, man, fighting in backyards, and he was bare knuckles fighting, and he was very good at it, man. He was knocking out people like nothing. I mean, this guy rose the scene like Kimbo Slice, and the Diaz brothers, man, they have really good boxing, very sharp boxing, being phenomenal jiu-jitsu players. I mean,
doesn't really help you in a boxing match, but I think
no.
this could go either way. I'm always gonna go with Nate, but who knows?
But remember, like if Masvidal, just if he can play the game that he played when he was back in the days of Miami, man, he was tough, man. His uppercuts, his hooks, man, he's dangerous. He can knock you out. It's just that like it's hard. It depends who's hungrier right now, and it looks like Masvidal was ready to go, like right there. I mean. And he was ready to go with some pretty big dudes of the Diaz army there, and he kind of hurt them. So I'm telling you, it's going to be a hard one. I mean, I want to go towards Diaz, but I'm not throwing, Masvidal out. I'll see. The closer it gets to the fight, I want to see who's injured.
Well, that's going to happen in about a month, AJ. There's been a lot of talk this week about Islam Makhachev and Jon Jones and who's number one pound for pound and all of this, and people are weighing in, and I think we have new rankings as far as the UFC's top pound for pound. The media voted, and Islam Makhachev is now ranked number one pound for pound with Jon Jones number two. And this is something that Islam keeps talking about. I'm number one pound for pound. I'm the best, and da-da-da. And now the media has bought into it for some reason, and I don't buy it at all. Jon Jones has never lost. Islam has. Jon Jones has been a champion his entire career, pretty much. He won his first world title in like 2011. The guy is 13 years in the game as a world champion, undefeated, smashing legends of the sport. I don't really know what else you got to say about Jon Jones to convince people that he's the number one pound-for-pound fighter in the world. You look at pound for pound, a lot of times that means, hey, do you have success in two different weight classes? Yeah, he's the greatest light heavyweight of all time, and he jumped up to heavyweight and won the heavyweight championship and destroyed Cyril Gane very easily, where Francis Ngannou, the former champion, took 5 rounds to beat him in a very close decision. Jon Jones is clearly the number one pound-for-pound fighter in the world. If you put Jon Jones against any man, probably in the history of humankind, Jon Jones beats up that man because Jon Jones is the most evolved form of fighter that the world has ever seen. There's not a man in the UFC or walking the face of the earth that could beat him in a fight. So until you prove to me that Jon Jones isn't the most dangerous, baddest man, undefeated UFC champion ever, I'm going to dispute anybody else being ranked number one pound for pound or greatest of all time or any other bullshit that people want to throw out there, because it is, as Khabib would say, number one bullshit. Number one.
You're right. And you know what's interesting? And you know what? I say a lot of jokes and whatnot sometimes, on the bad side of jokes for Jon Jones, but realistically and honestly speaking, as a martial artist, you got to give Jon Jones that number one position, no doubt about it. And I think Dana White said it really well. If you have an opportunity to listen to Dana's comments on what he thinks and who is the number one, pound for pound fighter in the world, there's no doubt about it. It is Jon Jones. And you know what? He brought up some points. Number one, there's not too many guys that went into 2 weight divisions and are champions. A guy who's never lost. A guy whose career has fought the best of the best. And I'm, what the?
Streamlabs.
Listen to that, man. So, and you know what he said, which was very interesting, was that Jon Jones, okay, beat Cyril Gane. And let me backtrack here. Cyril Gane brought Ngannou, the most dangerous fighter in the world, to the 5th round. And he only lost because he couldn't close, like, you know, that 5th round. If he would have been able to beat Ngannou in that 5th, Cyril Gane would have been the champion. Cyril Gane, after that, was the most dangerous opponent in the heavyweight division in the world. And you got Jon Jones that came in and took him out like as if he was nothing in the 1st round. He walked right through Cyril Gane, who took 5 rounds and almost beat him. That says a lot. That's something that you got to look back and say, you know what? There's no doubt about it. Jon Jones, even AJ, will say and agree and defend the fact that Jon Jones is the number 1. And no, you know, not to take it away from Islam. Islam is amazing. You know, he was amazing. But I also got to give a lot of amazingness to Poirier himself, because that was a beautiful fight. And it could have went either or. But let's be honest, Jon Jones is the phenomenon, and he will be regarded as one of the best fighters in combat history.
He's the best ever, and he's number 1 pound for
say
pound.
that.
And I don't want to hear any other kind of talk about, well, like, you know, I was talking to a guy on Twitter, and he was saying, well, Jon Jones has been inactive, and he tested positive, and this and that. And it's like, well, Islam tested positive too, and Islam's... Like, Jon Jones was only really inactive for the 3 years that he took to kind of jump up to heavyweight and for the UFC to come up with a fight that made sense. And, you know, like, he stayed away for a variety of reasons, but then he came back and he was dominant. And when he was in action, when he was the champion, like, there were some suspensions, there was this and that, but he always fought at least once a year, which as a champion is really the norm. I don't buy the inactivity. I don't buy the drug test failures. I don't buy anything, because a lot of that was kind of proven where he wasn't really at fault. And even if he was, he's just far and above the competition, and has been.
Yep.
It's not just that he's so good and that he's won so many fights. It's that he's done it for so long.
True, man.
No
from his
one,
20s, dude.
Like, the era that he comes from, when he became world champion, the champions that were champion in the other weight divisions, they're all retired. And they've been retired. Like, the guys, we talked about this, right? Like, he was on stage with a group of guys that were all champion once in Toronto, right? I was at a press conference in Toronto, and all the champions were assembled, and it was Jon Jones as a light heavyweight champion, Cain Velasquez was the heavyweight champion, Jose Aldo was the featherweight champion, Frankie Edgar was the lightweight champion, George St. Pierre was the welterweight champion, and Anderson Silva was there as the middleweight champion of the UFC. All those guys are either retired or, you know, no longer in the title picture at all. Jon Jones is still on top. How is that possible? No one lasts this long in the UFC. Your run on top in the UFC is 3. If you can be on top for 3 to 5 years, you are a legend.
Yeah.
Jon Jones has
Not
done
even
it
George.
For double that. Like, no, guys don't last
even
that
George
long
did
on
it.
top, man. No one does.
But
No
that's
one
George
does.
St. Pierre was able to do that. You know, and that's the thing. I mean, you know, look, I just saw like a couple of comments there, you know, on Johnny. But, you know, if I have to look at Islam, you know, yeah, he's probably, in my opinion, ranked number 2, you know. But when you're going to look at the greatest fighters in the UFC, there's no doubt about it, man. I think Jon Jones will always be the number 1.
Let me ask you this, AJ.
I think number 2 will be somebody like Khabib. I agree with Johnny there.
Sure.
You know, but and then you got your George St. Pierre.
Even then, Khabib is questionable because his run on top was also very, very short. You know, Kamaru Usman, great UFC fighter, great UFC champion, right?
Absolutely.
Great champion.
Yeah.
He won the title in 2019, in December of 2019, lost it in August of 2022. So he had it for under 3 years. And he is, he was going in the Hall of Fame.
Absolutely.
He couldn't hold on to the belt for 3 years.
Seemed even longer, you know what I'm saying?
Jon Jones would still be light heavyweight champion if he wanted to be.
Absolutely.
Over a decade, it's ridiculous. Like, that's the thing that people don't understand, man. To be a champion in the UFC for a decade, he's been doing it for more. But to be a champion just for 10 years is unheard of. But what's impressive, no one even comes close.
No, and I gotta, and me, I always make jokes about Jon Jones and all that kind of stuff. But I recognize the greatest, and he's the guy. And the thing that's impressive to me is not because of his light heavyweight run and what he's done. It's the fact that he was off, and I was very questionable. I was like, oh man, this is ridiculous. He looked very heavy at times and whatnot. But Jon Jones was able to stay out of the game, not even being active. Finally fights in the heavyweight division against the most dangerous guy in the world, Cyril Gane. Yes, Johnny, I did meet him and I held his belt. I know how big Cyril Gane is. Dave knows how big Cyril Gane is. He's a monster. He's a giant.
Yeah.
He's super tough. Probably the most the guy has everything you can think of to be just such a versatile fighter. And he moves like a middleweight. The guy had everything to be the greatest if Jon Jones wasn't there. But Jon walked through that guy after many years of being on the sidelines. Man, you got to give that.
That's so
the
crazy.
guy went to heavyweight, and he took away the guy that was in my opinion, Cyril Gane, the best guy out there, even better than the Gane one. I always said that. He almost proved it, even though he lost. Sure. He lost by just one round and only half of that round.
Right.
Literally.
But, AJ, think about this. Jon Jones won the title in 2011. He beat Shogun.
Crazy.
Okay?
Yeah.
Islam Makhachev won the title in 2022. And he beat Charles Oliveira. And he wants to come out here and act like he's more accomplished than Jon Jones?
Look, we can't
He's held the belt
that
for less than 2 years. And this motherfucker wants to go, oh, Jon Jones, blah, blah, blah. I'm the best. What, dude? Come on, man. A little respect for the guy's accomplishments and the fact that the media and other fans and people that I respect and know are saying, yeah, Islam is number one pound for pound. Jon Jones this, Jon Jones that. Making all these excuses to take Jon Jones out of the conversation when if you really look at it, there's no conversation. There's absolutely no conversation that Jon Jones is the greatest of all time. No one has had a run anywhere near. Islam hasn't held the belt for 2 years yet. And he wants to talk about a guy who won his championship in 2011 when Islam was a child? Like, come on.
You're right, man.
Get out of here.
You know what? Look.
If Islam wants to take the crown from Jon Jones so bad, why don't you try fighting him? Why don't you try to make it up to heavyweight and see how you do? Like, come on. What is he? I don't like all that. Pound for pound. If you really think you're the best pound for pound, then you'd be able to go up and beat anybody on the planet, right? Pound for pound, you're the baddest man. Prove it. Prove it, man.
Look, Dave, I'm gonna tell you something. No, you're absolutely right, man. But the best response I've heard
that Darce choke he hit on Saturday night was unbelievable. Jesus. It was so nasty. Just the takedown combination with the Darce. It was some of the most beautiful technique I have ever seen. He is one of the best fighters in the world. His technique is extraordinary. And I understand the pound for pound discussion. Like when Demetrius Johnson was fighting, a lot of people said he was number one pound for pound. And if you look at the skill and the technique and the variety, it was hard to argue. But with Islam, like his grappling is amazing, but his striking isn't that spectacular. Like it's pretty good. You know, but
yeah. he's not like, look, Dustin Poirier showed
doesn't
like
dazzle.
some really good striking,
Like,
man.
he's a solid striker, but I mean, look at their faces at the end of the fight. Dustin and Islam. Islam's face was all busted up, and Dustin didn't have a scratch on him.
Yeah. Hey, listen, man.
Islam won, choked him out, but, that's
but it came
grappling.
close.
Islam's grappling is nasty. Like, my God. You could tell the grips are crazy, and the way he chained that takedown with the Darce was just, and to do it in the fifth round of a tough fight,
crazy.
like, masterful
It's impressive.
performance. This guy's so good. He would have won a decision anyways, and he finished him instead. Like, man, Islam, I have to put Islam over and talk to you a little bit about how great Islam is, because it sounds like I'm shitting on Islam. I'm not. I'm just talking about the greatness that is Jon Jones, and he is greater. Islam is great. He is amazing.
Yeah.
If Jon Jones retired, Islam would be number one pound for pound. I agree. But Jon Jones hasn't retired, and just because he's fighting Stipe next doesn't mean he won't fight Aspinall and then Pereira and beat them too.
And Dave, just quickly,
he's capable. And then when he does that, when he beats Stipe, when he beats Aspinall, what are you gonna say? What are they gonna say then to take it away from him? What are they gonna say? I don't know. They're taking it away from him now. The guy beat Cyril Gane in 2 minutes. And they're like, who's beaten Cyril Gane? Other than
Nobody.
Francis in a close decision. Who in the UFC? Nobody. Jon Jones made him look like a total jabroni.
Yeah.
Squashed him. 2 minutes. Guillotine. It's over, dude. Get out of here. Didn't break a sweat against Cyril Gane to win the heavyweight title after not fighting for 3 years. Coming in jacked, giant, and everybody's like, oh, whatever. Now, at the time it was like, oh, he's the greatest ever. He's the best. And then a few months later, he's injured. He's fighting Stipe. People are less excited. They go, oh, well, Islam now, because we just saw that 4 days ago. It's like, no.
Yeah, but
it's a short memory. It's what have you done for me lately? But it's wrong. It's incorrect.
No, I agree with you. And that's what I'm saying is that, like, Jones, like, walked through Cyril Gane. Cyril Gane was bewildered. You could still remember that scene where he's lying on the ground and he's looking up and he's like, what the fuck just happened? He just came across like a tsunami, man. He didn't realize how good Jon Jones was, and he does today. Doesn't mean that they won't fight again. I doubt it. But one thing is for sure, again, I'm going to go back to the Dana White, commentary. When Dana was asked, listen to that. If you have an opportunity to listen to it, Dave, he says it as a nutshell. Yeah, you saw it. And he said it right.
Any man, anywhere, Jon Jones beats him pretty much. He's right.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, it's the media that's like pushing this narrative that, Islam is like the number one. Not to take away from Islam. We, like Ringside Report, we called that Islam would be the champion a long time ago, and he would reign as champion. But last Saturday's fight was a real fight. Dustin Poirier came very, very close to ending that championship ride.
Mm-hmm.
It was close, Dave. There was a few times we were like,
close,
that's
but
it.
It was a good fight.
No,
and Johnny North correctly brings up
times.
that Dustin did break his nose in the fight. He did
but he didn't only break his.
He didn't look like he wasn't busted up Islam was. He didn't.
But
look
it wasn't
bad.
only his. But it wasn't only his nose; it was his hand, and he tore his ACL.
Yeah.
So there was a few other things. I mean, the guy was
tough
a
fight.
warrior, man. He kept fighting, and Islam too. And you know what? They finally admitted that Islam had staph, and I called it. Remember, we had our whole
we
thing?
knew it.
I know
it was obvious. Yeah.
It was obvious.
But he survived,
and he had
man.
staph.
You got to give it to him. He survived.
He survived.
And Arman Sarukian is next for Islam.
Yeah, that's going to be a good fight too, man. That's going to be something. It's going to be a war. Sarukian is no joke, and
I wonder.
It's going to be interesting.
I wonder what they do with that fight.
What do you mean?
As far as how they promote it, and do they use it as a headliner for a pay-per-view? And if they do, they're going to need to stack the undercard to get people to buy. Because Islam and Dustin is a draw. Islam, and Volkanovski was a draw. But Islam and Arman Tsarukyan is not as appealing to the everyday MMA fan who doesn't know who the hell Arman Tsarukyan is. We are aware. We know he's next in line. We know he's dangerous. And the UFC is going to promote the fact that they fought before and it was close and they're going to fight again. And I agree. But I think the fight is really interesting, and I'm not sure how it goes down. I would side with Islam, but it'll be a tight one. It's going all five. It's going all five for sure. Like 100. Yeah. Man, if Islam finishes this guy, damn, Islam's really stepping it up because this guy, he's younger. He's got a similar style. Like Arman Tsarukyan is very dangerous. But I wonder what they do for the pay-per-view. Because they're going to have to pad the undercard. Because Islam and Tsarukyan is not a strong main event that's going to sell a lot of pay-per-views. You need to add some stuff.
No doubt about it. But from the perspective of like a real match that you want to see as a combat, fan, someone who knows the game, this is a beautiful fight to have. Just to see what's going to happen on the technical side. This is a fight that you want to see. If I had to see a fight, this is it. But on the promotional side, to the not the everyday fan, but to really get those numbers, you're right. It doesn't hit that target. It's not going to sell pay-per-views. It's unfortunate. People want to see, like we said, circus type fights. That's not a circus fight. That's a really well-matched fight. The problem is that it's not going to get the points. But you're right. They need to put a circus, co-main, and all the way down. It's got to be a circus all the way through, and then a real fight with Islam.
That's it. That's it. They got to add some stuff. They got to add some beef to that pay-per-view when they finally do it. Like I was talking to a guy I know about MMA, and he's like he's what they call a casual MMA fan, right?
Casual, exactly.
Right? So he likes Dustin Poirier because he knows Dustin Poirier because Poirier became a star when he beat Conor McGregor twice, right? So he's a casual MMA fan. What are you doing over there? What are you doing?
It's my you don't know what I'm doing, man?
You're DJing?
Well, DJ's online, man. That's my
DJ Bourne. What's up, DJ Bourne? Okay.
Yeah, but he missed all our DJ talk before. He came in a little too late, DJ.
So you threw me off here. What the hell was I talking about, AJ? The guy is a casual MMA fan. He knows Dustin Poirier. Yeah. He's telling me that he's starting to like Islam Makhachev too because he's seeing him. He's watching the countdown show to get ready. Like, he's going to watch the fight because of Poirier, right? He sees it. He likes Islam, but I don't know if he's going to buy Islam's next fight based off the performance. I don't know if the people, because they're trying to make Islam into a star, and they're giving him a guy like Dustin Poirier to see, hey, if you're a Dustin Poirier fan, you're going to tune into this fight, and maybe after the fight, you'll become an Islam Makhachev fan. I don't know how many Islam Makhachev fans came out of this fight weekend that'll go and pay for an Islam Makhachev fight against a guy they don't know. Like, has he become a bankable pay-per-view star for the UFC at this point? I don't think so. I don't think so. He's a very good fighter. The number one pound for pound thing is something that they could try and promote. But he's an interesting guy. I think he's got a good personality, but I don't know. It's just him and Tsarukyan is not a big money fight, even though it is one of the most compelling matchups in MMA currently. It really is a battle of 1 and 2 at 155 pounds in the UFC, at least, and it's a serious fight.
You're right,
it's a very serious fight. So right. I'm really hyped for it, and I was calling for this fight before Poirier. I was like, well, Tsarukyan should be next, right? And then it didn't happen, and I was like, okay, I get why. I mean, Gaethje should have got the shot instead. I don't know what the hell they're doing, honestly. Like, Gaethje should have never fought Holloway. Gaethje should have been fighting Islam because Gaethje beat Poirier. But then they put Poirier up against Saint Denis, and he finds a way to win. So they go, Poirier, let's have him fight Islam now. But Gaethje never gets the shot at Islam. He fights Holloway. He gets knocked out. And then, where's Gaethje now? Back of the line. it's a weird scene, and then Sarukian is just racking up wins, and he's not a big name and not a big star, and he gets to the point where, okay, Islam needs a fight, and, well, Gaethje's fighting Holloway, so they're going to give it to Sarukian, and then here comes Poirier sliding in, and they're like, nope, Poirier gets the fight because it's Dustin Poirier, and you go, okay, but what about Sarukian? So I think the UFC knows, like, well, we got some work to do with Sarukian because nobody knows who the hell he is. So we got to try and build up Islam for that one. Did they succeed?
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll find out. We're gonna find out with how they promote this fight. Like, what's it gonna be? UFC, say UFC 310 or whatever. Is it the main event, or is it, on a UFC Abu Dhabi on ABC main event card? Like, they could do that.
Yeah.
They could just make it the main event, a fight card on ABC. Because they're doing one of these Abu Dhabi, they're doing Saudi Arabia, right? On the 22nd, it's Robert Whittaker versus Khamzat Chimaev on free TV in the afternoon on ABC. Okay, that's cool, and that's a really big fight that could main event a fight night or co-main event a pay-per-view, right? Like, that's a big one. Khamzat is a big one. They could do Islam versus Sarukian on one of those. Saudi Arabia, you know what I mean? They could do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
They might do that. So I think it'll be interesting to see how the UFC decides to play this Islam Sarukian fight. And I bet you I'm going to be right about it. Like, they're going to either seriously stack the undercard of the pay-per-view to get people to buy some other way, or they're just going to put it on free TV, which is kind of nuts. I think they probably stack the pay-per-view, but they better really stack it. Otherwise, it's going to be a weak buy. That's my estimate.
Well, you have a lot of guys that
Islam,
are out there
though.
that can make it very exciting. Yeah, but you're right. Islam, more and more people are starting to like him, but, it's that every once in a while fan that really brings in the pay-per-view numbers, and you're right. Like, your friend is a casual fan who got a chance to see Islam and became a fan, and that's what you need. But, really, it's still not going to be a big sell just on those two guys. You really got to stack it. And if it's in Abu Dhabi, like you said, it'll be a totally different thing. Absolutely. That'll be a great card. They'll do very well. It's free. It's a win-win. But, if it's in Vegas, man, you better stack it, and you got to get those big names. You got to get, I think, you got to get the Patty Pimblets in there. To get, like, a lot of, the Strickland in there. You got to get those type of guys to really push that pay-per-view.
Yeah.
And you know what? The UFC is like, we can't say too much. They've delivered pretty much on every card they've had, this year. From January 1st, even their fight nights were,
wait a second, AJ. Well, wasn't there a pay-per-view that we didn't even cover?
Yes, we didn't cover it. Yeah, but it turned out to be not bad, that one.
The Brazil card. Yeah, but the names on it were so weak, man. It was bad.
But it was actually a very good card, and the fights were really good. So what I'm trying to say is that, like, yeah, sometimes it doesn't deliver in the hype, but they still managed to have, like, fights that were actually pretty good, and not just a main event. I mean, from the prelims across, the UFC has delivered, man. The matchmakers are successful.
Look, I like the UFC. Okay, I'm just saying they had that one UFC 301 that was kind of a miss. UFC 302 was good. UFC 301 was, not that strong because UFC 300 was so damn impressive. Yeah, it has been a good year for the UFC. The UFC is great, man. Like, you're not going to get me to say the UFC has bad pay-per-views. They're usually amazing. UFC 303, they're promising us Conor McGregor. I mean, come on. It's going to be good. It's good stuff. The UFC is amazing. And Leor says, if an event is really good but no one watched it, does it really matter? Exactly. UFC 301, did it really matter?
He's got a point.
And I would say it did not.
Well, here it didn't, but you know what? Like, yeah, I guess, like, in Brazil, I mean, obviously it was very successful. I mean, you have like hundreds of millions of people that watch it. But yeah, in North America, it didn't fly as well. But in certain parts of the world, it did really well. Again, like in Brazil, obviously, they get to watch all these fights for free. Really get over 100 million people watching it. Like it's a very different thing. But yeah. You're right. It could be a great event, but if you're not bringing the money, But in the end, like, the UFC has to deliver no matter what. They got to pump out like so many events at the end of the year, you know?
And they're pumping out another event here this weekend, UFC Louisville. It's Jared Cannonier versus Nasruddin Imavov. It's actually a pretty badass middleweight fight in the main event here. This is a good fight.
Yeah,
it's a very good fight. Two of the best in the UFC here. And, these are title contender type fights. These are big fights. So, Cannonier, he's got a win over the former champion Strickland. A win here sets himself up for a really big fight next. Cannonier's been, a title challenger before. He's been in the mix at 185 pounds for a long time, and he's 40 years old, but still looking great, coming off wins over Sean Strickland and Marvin Vettori back-to-back since losing to Israel Adesanya in 2022. This guy looks great, fights great. Somehow, time doesn't apply to Jared Cannonier. You got to figure at some point it will, but the guy's 40. It's kind of nuts, right? Like, he's still so dominant. He might be the oldest guy in a top 10 in all of the UFC.
Yeah.
Is there any other 40-year-old in a top 10 right now? I mean, I guess Stipe is ranked in the top 10 at heavyweight, but come on.
Yeah, but he hasn't fought in years.
Yeah.
We'll see
but
what happens.
But he's one of the older guys
back.
for sure. He's the oldest ranked middleweight. Cannonier is ranked 4th in the UFC's middleweight division right now. 4th in their top 15. No.
And he doesn't slow down. And if you look at the Vettori fight, and I love Marvin Vettori, and when he comes out, I like the way he fights. Yeah, he might be a little bit, he was slower than Cannonier. But Cannonier coming in, I didn't think he was going to beat Marvin Vettori. I remember I took Marvin Vettori in that fight. But Cannonier landed over 241 strikes in that fight. I mean, it was ridiculous. So he's 40 years old, but he's able to keep a heavy pace. Very dangerous fighter. This is a hard one, and Imavov, I mean, obviously a lot younger, really good fighter. I mean, he's 13-4. He's got everything it takes, to beat Cannonier. Like he said, he's not going to be like heavy and slow like Marvin Vettori. His last fight, he got a majority decision win over Roman Doldiz back in February. Yeah. And one thing that's motivating him is that he wants to be on the Paris card. So he wants to be in Paris to be like part of that card, which is going to be a great thing for him as a fighter if he can beat Cannonier. But it's going to be a tough fight. 17-6 for Cannonier. Wow, I mean, it's a hard pick, Dave. It's a really hard pick. Usually a guy at 40, I'd be like, okay, his time has already ticked 5 years, too late now,
Yeah.
But, the way he peppered Vettori, it was shocking.
Yeah, I was very impressed with Cannonier in that fight. He's looking very sharp.
And I don't think
he is the plus 100 underdog right now in this fight. And Imavov minus 120. Imavov is 29, and Cannonier is 40, which is gonna sway some people, but not swaying me one bit. I'm gonna go with Jared Cannonier. He's fighting on home soil as well in Louisville, Kentucky this weekend in the United States. Imavov lives and trains in France. He's coming over, time zone difference. Crowd is not going to be on his side. I think he's going to be in a world of hurt, and when Cannonier steps up to you, it's going to be real, real bad. I think he's going to realize that there are levels to the game, and I don't think Nasruddin is necessarily on the level of a Cannonier right now. I got Jared Cannonier plus 100. I think he pulls through, gets the win as the underdog in the main event this Saturday in Louisville.
Look, we were talking about Cyril Gane. I mean, they obviously train in the same team. You're right. There going to be a factor with the time difference and whatnot. But the only thing is that it's his style. Has this very impressive style. At 29 years old, he's very, very dangerous. The only factor here is it's 5 rounds. So if Cannonier was fighting a 3-round fight, I'd give that edge to Cannonier. But I'm telling you, 5 rounds is probably going to be the difference for Nasruddin to probably pull through and take this fight. I mean, it's a hard one for me to call, but I had all my chips like looking at like Nasruddin for the win because of the 5 rounds. That's the only difference. That 29 years old. I mean, and it's also his style, man. I think the style is going to be hard for Cannonier to go 5 rounds. It's going to be a different game than what he did to Marvin Vittori. I'm giving it to a Nasruddin.
Interesting. AJ going with Imavov. I'm going with Cannonier. Obviously, a very close fight. Co-main event, we got Dustin Jacoby taking on Dominic Reyes. Jacoby minus 230, the favorite. Reyes plus 190, the dog. I really like Jacoby to win this fight. Reyes has looked very much done in his past few fights, just getting knocked out every time he steps in there. Knocked out pretty quick in his last one. I don't think he has a different outcome this time. I think that Dustin Jacoby puts his lights out, and then maybe Reyes thinks about retirement. I don't know, but it's not looking good for him lately. I'm going with Dustin Jacoby, big favorite, minus 230. We got Raul Rosas Jr., the young man, taking on Ricky Turcios. Rosas Jr. is, how old is this kid now?
He
19. Started when he was, 17 or something in the UFC?
17, the youngest fighter in the UFC history.
He's 19 now.
Yeah.
And taking on the tough Ricky Turcios. I like Rosas Jr., though, in that fight. We got a bunch of fights here on tap. AJ, do you have a parlay for me? You got some fights. I'll give you I can give you mine. Sizzle. I have.
Yeah, let's hear yours.
I have you know what? I'll give you. Yeah, what the hell? Let's go with this one here. I got actually a few picks for you. Should I just combine them all in one big parlay and go crazy, or should I give you solo bets?
Well, you could use them as solo or use them as a parlay,
A parlay is big money, though. What the hell? Let's parlay this.
Let's
bad
go
boy.
Big, man.
Let's go big this week. All right, but you could also just take my 2 favorites. I got a 4-fight parlay for you. Let's go big. I'm going to start early in the prelims. I'm going to start out with Montana De La Rosa, the slight underdog over Andrea Lee, plus 135. I've got De La Rosa coming through with a victory. I also like Jared Cannonier at plus 100 over Nasruddin. You could take those in the 4-fight parlay if you want, or separate them as solo bets. That might be a smart move as well. The 4-fight parlay will cash in, though. Raul Rosas Jr. minus 240 and Dustin Jacoby minus 230. The 4-fight parlay cashes in plus 855. 20 gets you 191.07 over at bet99.com when you use that promo code Ringside. Use our link over at ringsidereport.net. Sign up with bet99.com using our link at ringsidereport.net. So that is my parlay, and if you take away my underdogs, I'm sure it's worth less, but it's also a nice, safe parlay. 20 gets you 40.65. So you kind of double your money with the Jacoby and Rosas parlay. I'm pretty confident on that one. But if you add in my underdog picks, you're doing a fair bit better.
Yeah.
So there they are. Man. That's the Team Dave parlay. It's a 4-fight parlay, which I don't usually do, but I like a few of these fights here. I think that there are some advantages this weekend in Louisville, Kentucky. So it's De La Rosa, Cannonier, Rosas Jr., and Dustin Jacoby. 20 gets you 191, almost a $200 return on the $20 bet. Not bad.
191, you said?
20 gets you 191, AJ. You love
bet 99. Don't forget.
Right. That's where it is.
Well, AJ is not going to go as crazy on this card like he usually does. So,
wow. So I'm the one going crazy. You encourage me to go crazy.
Well, I'm going to be like neck to neck with you with the craziness. I mean, I'm going with a 4-fight parlay and nothing more. But I'm gonna go opposite of you, and I'm going with Nasruddin for the win.
Okay.
I agree with you, and it pains me to say this, but I think Dustin Jacoby is going to pretty much, finish off Dominic Reyes. And I think Dominic Reyes is, his days are numbered. I mean, he's got some nasty, And ever since he fought John Jones, he fell from grace, man. It's not the same Dominic Reyes that we saw. That was that questionable. Did he beat John Jones kind of thing? That's not the same Dominic Reyes. I really feel for him, but I think his days are gone. I think John Jones took his soul. So Dustin Jacoby for me. And then, yeah, I'm going with the kid, man. That kid, I was happy that he lost because the loss gives this guy a hunger, and he's got to know how it feels. And at 19 years old, this guy has a great future. Rosas, I mean, what a great representative of like the Mexican community. I love this kid. He has everything you want to see in a champion. Hopefully one day he'll be a champion. But I think Raul is going to take it over Turcios. And then I'm going to go with Bruno Ferreira for the win over Dustin Stoltzfus. And he's not doing too good, Stoltzfus. He's 2-4 since joining the UFC. I mean, I could be wrong on this. I think Bruno Ferreira should be able to beat Dustin, and that's how my parlay ends.
Okay, so AJ going with a 4-fight main card parlay, all favorites. Could come through. Vegas thinks it will. Through. All favorites, right? They think all these people will win. All these people are supposed to win, technically. Imavov, Rosas, Jacoby, and Ferreira. 20 gets you 101.15 over at bet99.com. Not bad.
Not bad. Nice, yeah. It's a nice payout.
4-fight parlay plus 406. There you go. That's the Team AJ parlay for you. Coming up this Saturday, UFC Louisville. And I'm just watching the Yankees game. They are done. They've done 5 innings, and now they're in a rain delay. Yankees leading 8-5 over the Twins, looking to complete a sweep and win their 8th game in a row, which would be, I think, a season high on a win streak. But they have won a lot of games. They have the best record in all of baseball, and they're leading a game right now after 5, which means it's official. If the rain doesn't stop, they could just call it a game, and the Yankees would win a 5-inning game 8-5. So we'll see how that turns out. I'll be watching that, and just to give you a Yankees update, because I know everybody loves when I talk baseball on this show. My God, do I love Yankees baseball. And I've had the game on the whole time. 8-5 Yankees right now in a rain delay after 5. But after 5 innings, AJ, as you may or may not know, the game is official. So they could call it a game, say it's raining too much, we're not going to finish this game tonight. And because they've completed 5 innings, you need a minimum of 5 total innings to make a game official. So they could say, yep, that's a game. It's official. Game over after 5 innings because of rain. So it could happen. The Yankees have won a game like that already this season. I think a game ended in like the 8th inning. There was a rain delay. They had a lead, and then the game just ended, and they won. Like they had a rain delay for a while, and then they just said, yeah, this game's not going to happen tonight. It's over. And then the game just ended. It was a delayed win. It was kind of like usually you wait for the 3rd out for the win, but we just kind of waited for somebody to announce that the game wasn't going to continue. May happen again tonight. It may happen again tonight. So it's raining in Montreal and it's raining in New York. The East Coast and it's covered with rain.
Yeah, and it's a bad weekend for rain because here in Montreal, it's the Grand Prix weekend, man. We look forward to this like all year. You hope it's going to be great weather.
I don't look forward to it at all. I don't like it.
What are you talking about? Me, Johnny, PR Mark, we look forward to the
you say we, like I look forward to it. I don't look forward to Grand Prix weekend. I don't like Grand Prix weekend.
Man, it's the best. Lots of action, lots of partying, but you can't when it's raining like this. Like all the events for tonight are rained out. Like Crescent Street is like kaput. So, you got festivities happening on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and let's hope race day it's gonna be decent. But no, man, we've had like sweltering weather, and then boom, when it finally counts to have nice weather, it rains.
When it rains, it pours, AJ, and that is the show for tonight. I will be back here tomorrow night with Johnny North to talk professional wrestling tomorrow night, 10 p.m. Eastern time, right after SmackDown. You have something else you want to say, AJ? I'm done with you. What?
No, because you forgot twice in a row. You talked about the rain and the damper and everything. I thought you were going to mention the Jake Paul and Mike Tyson fight that went like down south.
I didn't talk about that last week. We talked about it on the watch along.
Not really.
We did. We talked about it on the watch along on Saturday. If you want to hear us talk about it, go back on the watch along and watch. That's what I have for you. That's all I have for you.
That's
Okay.
what she said.
What? That didn't even make sense.
Hey, listen, one other thing, just quickly. I don't know if you know about this, but the WWE pitched to use the UFC Octagon at the next NXT.
Yeah, I know they're doing
Battleground.
it at the thing in Vegas with no atmosphere. It sucks.
I think that's pretty
know.
cool.
That's old
like
news.
that.
Okay, we'll
Is
talk
it?
about new stuff in wrestling. Not really old news that's tired and pointless, like AJ will do. We'll do that tomorrow. The Real Wrestling Show with myself and Johnny North tomorrow night, 10 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on the Ringside Report Network. Thanks for sticking with us to the end. We would really appreciate it if you could help us spread the word. Please share this episode on whichever social media platform you use. Add a comment below and consider reviewing us on Apple Podcasts. We are an audience-supported network, so consider becoming a recurring supporter at membership.ringsidereport.net. Check out our website at ringsidereport.net. Hope to see you again next